Hello there and welcome to episode 16 of the Not So Casual Gamer podcast. My name is Sam Christensen. Joining me as always is Lewis Cunningham. Lewis, I know how you're doing, but tell the lovely listeners at home what current state you are in. That made it sound like you're in a state. No,
Tired as fuck.
just tired, man.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. One of those things, man. But we have it. We have those deadlines, those self-appointed deadlines. You know, all these listeners need that Wednesday episode.
Well, it's,
Well?
well,
Well,
I'm gonna try and make it a low energy one today. Some nice moments. No ranting, no negativity.
we're talking about positive things today,
yeah,
which is nice. So
mostly. We'll get the negative stuff out of the way.
Yes, we'll get the negative. Is that based on the games that you're playing? Because
Yeah.
I have something quite negative to talk about in the games I'm playing as well.
Okay, right.
So
Let's have a little negative blast.
Let's
to begin with.
Blast the negative, and then we'll move on, and we'll just jump straight into it.
To be honest, I could probably rant a whole episode about my
Okay,
negative stuff that I've been playing, but
I'll go.
I feel like you sort of hinted that yours was somewhat insignificant.
Somewhat insignificant.
Mine's
yeah.
is quite significant for me.
Interesting. Okay, right. I'll start with mine then. We're just jumping straight into it, guys. No preamble, pure negative off the bat, and then we'll be positive after that.
No tree bramble.
No tree bramble. Nice.
Forget I said that.
I'm not gonna forget that.
Oh.
I will forget it. Do you know what I mean? As I say, I'll let's use that instead of preamble forever. Not, and then I'll never remember that we've ever had this conversation ever. And it is recorded, and I could go back and listen to it, but I won't. Anyway, I played the Battlefield 2042 beta.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like all I've played recently is betas. Just betas. Riders Republic,
has to.
Vanguard,
Yeah.
Battlefield. Is that it? It's probably it. Halo Infinite as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, good
Technically
four.
not a beta, but
A flight test. Battlefield 2042. So I was almost quite sold on this game, to be honest. I've liked Battlefield in the past. I've never got like massively into Battlefield, but I liked Battlefield 4. I enjoyed Battlefield 1.
yeah.
That's kind of where it sort of started and ended, with Battlefield, because really Battlefield 5 wasn't great. It wasn't received that well, and I have played it since it went on PlayStation Plus a couple months ago, and I played like 3 games and deleted it, kind of thing. But played this new game. It's a game. This is a video game podcast, and it was just fine. Just fine. Like, right, okay, in fairness, it was built off of a couple months old build. So it's not that they're aware of some of the issues. Those really weren't the issues I was having, though. The main issues I was having was really just like visibility. It was almost too big, and I know that's the point of Battlefield, but it was almost too big.
Yeah.
The map that they put out in the beta wasn't great, in my opinion. There are better looking maps in the full release, which still kind of has me sort of slightly interested. There's a very cool system where you don't choose your guns like attachment loadouts, kind of like COD, but you don't choose them like pre-game, you choose them in-game. So you're like running through the battlefield, as is aptly named, and you hold,
Yes.
I think it's like up on the D-pad or something like that, or whatever button, and it brings up this, they call it like the cross menu, and it's like a big X, and then you can select different attachments on the fly. So you can like put on a further scope, or you can put on like a different magazine type for more mobility, or a foregrip for recoil control.
Yeah.
And you can do this on the fly, so that if you're running about with like an assault rifle and it's long range and you push a building, you can quickly change it to be a close range option, which is really quite cool. So those are the positives for sure. The world is beautiful that they've like made in this map, and the sort of planes flying overhead and everything, but there was just so much chaos, and it didn't feel as organized chaos as Battlefield kind of has in the past.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was kind of spawning in and just either running around forever not finding anyone, or spawning in and just dying straight away. There was like hardly a balance in between. So I didn't put much time into it. I know that
Probably not a day one then.
not a day one for sure. I know that much. Because even when it comes out, I'm thinking I'll be I mean, that's close to the Warzone integration with Vanguard and the new
Right.
map and stuff like that.
There'll be a lot going on.
There'll be a lot going on. So it was one of those ones where I was like, I remember even thinking beforehand, like, oh, I'm looking forward to getting a feel for this, so I know to buy it day one, yay. And then just like immediately it was just like, nah, definitely not. So
well, it gives you a bit of peace of mind.
Oh, it's for sure. No, I'm glad to have played it, and that was all thanks to Game Pass, because I had EA Play. So I was able to get into the beta for free, no pre-order needed, which was delightful.
Well, there you go.
Answers my question. You're not getting my money, EA. So that is really all I have been playing. Other than Warzone, really, that's been it. Warzone has still been the main thing. There's and Deathloop. Sorry, Deathloop's still going
that's like another main one.
Deathloop is still going. I've been so busy. When I know this is super dorky, but I've got like days, afternoons that I play with my friend, and in the afternoon where we sort of get a good session on his days off, and typically Deathloop's like an afternoon game on my days off, but my only days off have been playing Warzone with him. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah. However, there've been a couple of frustrating bits with it. It's still great, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy it. But there's a couple of missions I've had to do like 2 in a row, and you can tackle any of them in any order. But coincidentally, I tackled these 2 next to each other, where they kind of ramp the difficulty in a kind of bullshit way, like no real reason.
Scripting.
Yeah, like it's more the fact that you have this power that means that when you're in one area, you can respawn 2 more times, so you've got 3 lives effectively before the day resets, or until you get to the next section of the day, and then your lives reset. 2 missions in a row where you need to sacrifice your power. Your power is in one of them. I got all the way to the end of this complex, fighting through all these enemies, and then just got hit by like a ballistic turret that I didn't see that killed me in 4 kills, and I was like, oh, I'll just respawn, and then it was like, oh wait, I didn't have my powers, so I can't respawn 3 times, so I just had to start the day again. That was frustrating. So it wasn't even that the enemies were harder, there was more of them. It wasn't that. It was by taking the powers away, it was like stripping away gameplay mechanics to just artificially up the difficulty, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I'd rather it just be harder, but I've got all my power, like my arsenal, like there. And then the second one was a stealth mission, which was fine, but if you get caught, the person you're trying to assassinate goes to blow up a reactor in the building that you're in, and you've only got a minute to deactivate it, but I didn't have the code to deactivate it, so I was like, but I didn't know that because it wasn't telegraphed that would happen if I got caught. So I'm just walking about still stealthing, there's alarms blaring, and I have no idea what's going on, and then the screen just goes white and my day starts again. I was like, that was the most confusing thing. So I kind of put it down for like a day or 2, and then my weekend was like excruciatingly busy, and I've not played like really anything until this morning with some Warzone, or this afternoon, sorry, with some Warzone. So I will get back to Deathloop. I'm looking forward to pushing forward. And what's good is, because you can tackle anything in any order, I'm like, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just go and do other things first, and I'll come back to that, and I'll hopefully be stronger, or I'll be better, and that's good. So Deathloop, Warzone, almost at 100 wins. Going to get 100 wins before Vanguard, the new map, comes out. That's the goal. I've got 8 more wins to get. 8 more wins. We've had 3 in a row twice now, which has been grand. So we're well on the way. We're well on the way. And that's me. Fairly beige and uninteresting, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Well, listeners may be shocked to hear that I have 0 Game Pass stories.
Interesting.
I've not played Xbox at all, really.
I've not seen you on because I said I would turn off the notification that I get on my phone when you go online. I still haven't, because that makes me laugh.
I wonder if occasionally I look on the app for one reason or other. I think it tells you when I even go on the app, does it?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Because I'm sure it says online in the app when you look at people. So I don't know. But that's not important. But yeah, to get the boring one out of the way, finished off the sort of main levels in Hitman.
Okay.
Same as last time, just not playing it right, but having fun. Didn't take long, so I got that out of the way.
Nice.
Now, on to the stuff that matters.
Oh.
So, September 30th / October 1st was a very interesting 2 days.
Okay.
So, September 30th, eFootball launches.
Oh, yes, I totally forgot we were going to talk about this. I saw that it launched.
It is... it's an abomination.
Oh, no.
It's a complete insult to the loyal fan base, the community of PES that stretches back 25 years. It's dead. Konami they've not just shot themselves in the foot, they have blown their both feet so clean off they will not recover.
You don't think they can recover?
They cannot save this. They will try over however long they're going to do it, but the foundation is so bad that I don't think it's just a laughing stock.
So what is it like? Obviously there'll be like nitty gritty and stuff like that.
So
that you'll understand more. But on that surface level, what would you say is the glaring changes?
Well, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, aside from the fact that it basically launched as a demo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you don't even have the choice of more than 5-minute matches. You've only got 2 difficulty levels to choose from, 9 teams. That's it. There's nothing else in the game. It's not a game. It's just a demo. But it's not even a good... So they switched engines, right? And this was meant to be over 2 years because 2021 was just a season update.
Yeah.
So it was the same game essentially as 2020, but something must have gone horribly wrong. No, because they actually lied to everyone to begin with. They said when they announced it 2 years ago, they were like, right, next gen, the first proper, like we're just going to do it properly. PS5, PES 2022, here we go. And they released this teaser of Messi looking like the best in a game that's ever been.
Right. Okay.
This was in engine. This was everyone was so excited, and then 6 months ago they were like, oh, by the way, this thing that's coming out this year. We're going to free to play, and actually, it's not PES anymore, and it's going to be cross-platform with mobile.
Yes,
and we were all like, "Okay."
If you're playing on console, it would downscale to the mobile.
Right.
If you played with cross,
but then that's okay. So that would be fine if the core, like PS5 based engine and sort of fundamental game of what it is was any good. It's not. It is. It's just an atrocity.
I mean, I've seen some screenshots of the players.
Graphically, it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's just about as bad as a PS3 game, possibly even worse than some of them. No HDR, obviously.
Okay.
Because it seems like they haven't been able to do anything in 2 years. It just went so wrong. What I think is them switching to Unreal. They had no idea what to do. They went, oh fuck, we cannot use this engine.
Unreal Engine for those who maybe don't know,
because it was on Fox Engine for years there.
Right. Okay. And am I right in saying Fox Engine is?
It was Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, 5.
Oh man.
I'm actually so sad for you. Like genuinely, like I don't. That is the equivalent of them just ruining Warzone for me. Like, which I'm still like. Part of me's worried about coming up soon, but we'll see. It
is. I mean, if they are to actually sculpt this thing and like heavily I just can't even see a world in which they transform this thing, free-to-play thing, into something that looks much better and plays. Like, it would be such fundamental changes they would have to make.
Well, they built it on an engine. I mean, you can't just patch like back to an old engine. That's a different game,
They've stripped away controls. It's now a more basic control. They've taken out controls that were part of what made PES great. It's unbelievable.
But that's them clearly sort of pandering to the lowest common denominator with mobile. You can't have complicated control schemes on a phone.
It's a total mess. They might because of this severe, and I'm saying like this backlash, it doesn't get any worse than this backlash. It has been one of the most severe gaming backlashes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
From, it's not a massive community.
No, but to scale,
Right. And obviously just FIFA players are just, they were laughing at it anyway,
of course,
because they didn't get it, but they're seriously laughing at it now.
I'm just having a wee look, just to kind of get an idea what you're saying. That's at eFootball. Is it got a Metacritic? Would it have a Metacritic?
I think there's only been a handful of outlets that have actually bothered to give it a score, and those scores are ranging 1 to 3, by the way. It's been given a 1 out of 10.
There's 100 user scores, 0.6.
That's fair.
Wow.
That's totally fair. I mean, you can't even really rate it as a game. It's not a game. It's barely even a product. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
But
I'm just like, there's 1 7 out of 10 user rating. Let's just see what it says. This is honestly not a bad game. It's no FIFA, don't get me wrong, but it's not the atrocity people claim it to be.
No, it is.
I want to see what you... Yeah,
I've played PES for 20 years. It is.
It is. If you want a casual free-to-play game and are a fan of football/soccer, it might be worth a download. I also give Konami props for actually providing optional paid updates rather than making a new title every year. Sure, there are bugs and server issues, but at the end of the day, it's a fun game that isn't garbage the people make it out to be.
No, they did this because they make most of their money from the microtransactions from,
of course,
weirdly, just the Asian market that somehow decided they wanted to play My Club instead of the FIFA version, but because they could do it on mobile.
Yes.
That's why they've done this.
It is. You can see right through it. There was a lot of this. There was actually quite a bit of positivity. I remember just anecdotally to the 2021 update, like not being like it's not a big jump. These games never are, as you
no, it wasn't like FIFA.
So it's only going to be like £25 roster, blah blah blah, whatever. Just to kind of keep the game alive just now, and that was like good. You made a good decision. You're not just like, because they could have just released another £60 game. Well, that was
so. I don't know if you know, but that's what EA are blatantly doing on Switch with FIFA.
Yeah,
since since they've started making them on Switch, they just say it in the descriptions, like this is just a roster update. Yeah. This is the same.
Yeah,
but they're releasing it as a full price game.
Oh, are they?
On Switch, and it's literally the same. It's heinous.
That is horrendous. And
with that being said,
right,
with Craig living with me for 2 months, and he always preferred FIFA, we went and bought FIFA.
I saw you were playing
for
FIFA.
Something to play.
Yeah.
But got another controller and everything. So I just was like, fuck it.
So you
first time buying
feeling that hypermotion, that?
No, it's
whatever they're calling it.
It's really tragic, actually. It's sometimes it's okay, like it's enjoyable. Definitely things about it that are enjoyable. The haptics do nothing. They actually annoy me. Just turn it off. Doesn't add anything. Mm-hmm. Looks incredible, obviously.
Okay.
Presentation's a 10. Gameplay's maybe a 5.
Interesting. Okay.
But then it's still better than eFootball, because even now in eFootball, I would rate their gameplay as like a 3, maybe no more than a 3.
Wow.
Whereas obviously for years and years, PES was, if not a 10, very close to being it, because that was
so. Is there anything stopping you from just playing PES 2020?
So here's my plan.
Okay.
So 20/21.
21 seasonal.
Where kind of I enjoyed them, but they weren't. I didn't like them quite as much as the few years before that. So I'm actually just going to go into sex and get 17 for $250.
Perfect. Yeah.
And just pretend like it's 5 years ago.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Because that is totally a game where gameplay is king. Like obviously, but the looks and everything. I'm like, yeah, but you're playing the game. Like it's I think that's a safe bet, because that was definitely the.
So now I can go and whoop Craig's ass on PES properly, and instead of him doing that to me on FIFA. Oh man. I don't know how he's not even picked up a controller in years, and he's just destroying me.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm any good at COD in comparison, but going to Battlefield this week, I was like, okay, so it's COD that I'm all right at, not just first person shooters.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I went into it thinking, oh, how
it's football, man. You know, it's just like,
I mean, I could actually do a whole episode talking, like, analysing FIFA and tearing it apart and why the gameplay is no good, but we'll not do it.
It would be quite a one-sided conversation. I would have no.
We'll maybe do a sports episode or something.
Sports episode sounds good. Yes. Yeah. Well, have you got any more games?
That is all.
That is all. Right. Let's wash the negativity away. Interesting though, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Today's topic is actually our first listener request of a topic.
Woo!
Kind of, because it was my supervisor in work. Shout out to Richard. I know you're listening. Getting them gains in at the gym. He'll listen at the gym. I can tell you that right now.
That's fine.
And we were in work, and he suggested, "Why don't you do this topic?" We'd had this conversation in work as like a time killer. Mm-hmm. So I was in fairness, had a little bit of a head start, but not at the time that he suggested it, but a couple of months ago. So the gaming topic today, or the topic of conversation, is our gaming wow moments. That was the word. Oh, that's my watch being unlocked by my face, or whatever it is. I'm putting that in silent. So, gaming wow moments. Now, what do we mean by that necessarily?
I hope I mean what you mean.
No, but this is the thing. I didn't. I literally said to Lewis. I said, gaming wow moments. Take with that what you will. In my interpretation, it was. I mean, it could be your favourite games and finishing off the ending of a game that sums up everything great. That's all good.
I actually didn't think about endings.
No, but that's fine. That's fine.
There will be ones.
There will be ones. And it doesn't even need to be your favourite games of all times, but just moments in games. Could be visuals. Could be a gameplay mechanic. I know we've talked about some of these bits, but just one moment where you just went, oh, that's impressive. Or just like, ooh, or you just had to stop for a second and just appreciate the game, the thing that is laid before you. So
yeah,
I've got a couple of sort of varying ones.
I'm just adding ones that you've just set me off slightly.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. I do apologise.
It's not a huge list, but
no, it doesn't need to be, because we can just we'll have some.
I think we're gonna have some crossover.
Oh, we're definitely gonna have some crossover. Sure. I can tell you that for sure. I will start. And what will I start with? I'm going to start with the most obvious one, and we can talk about it for a while. And we have spoken about it, but not exclusively this. Well, it's going to be The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of things. Now, we're talking about part 1 and part 2 here. I'm not going to go into heavy spoilers here, but there's a Last of Us spoiler warning-ish. Don't know exactly what I'll talk about. The intro.
Yes, that's...
Okay, so...
I mean, I've got intro and ending. For one.
I've literally wrote intro and ending. That's hilarious. Right, okay. Yeah. So we're definitely in the same wavelength. That's fine. So intro. I mean, we've spoken about The Last of Us ad nauseum.
We certainly have.
But I want to just dissect that first sort of, what you would say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game?
I mean, really, I feel like I can just sum it up in 2 words.
Okay.
I really don't... For both parts, there's really not much else that I feel like I need to say other than cinematic excellence.
Cinematic excellence. There's a pacing to the first 15 minutes of The Last of Us that has never been beaten, and I don't think ever can. Yeah. I'd love to be proven wrong, because that means we're getting something even better. But that first interaction between Joel and Sarah.
Yeah.
You've never met these two characters before, and instantly you can tell everything you need to know about them straight away. A couple of lines of dialogue, I sell hardcore drugs and stuff that we've said for years and years.
So well realised. It's so right away.
And straight away. Yeah. And then instantly just the horror sets in. You know what I mean? Like that first time where it's you're Sarah and you're like walking through the house, that's scary. Like that's terrifying.
About tension building.
It doesn't actually end in anything that horrifying at that moment in time, but the tension that bit builds is just
I remember
the TV going, and you can go into the room.
You know the bit where the first runner kind of slams into that reminded me. It gave me a similar feeling and vibe to when I remember first watching like 28 Days Later, stuff like that. Okay. Which I loved. I loved those films back in the day, and I think that really was at the time was the kind of the biggest analog that I had to. It was like, oh, here we go.
And it's just and then in the car, and you can Joel and Tommy are kind of arguing in the front seat, and kind of what to do, and you have no idea. You are playing as this child, and you the the player, watcher in that sense, in that kind of more cinematic sense, you're in her shoes. You don't know what's going on. You've got no idea. You can probably infer from prior zombie things, like 28 Days Later, you can kind of take the influence from it, and then just the car crash, and then swap into Joel, and that's who you'll be playing as for the majority, and then obviously the emotional scene of, sorry, spoiler alert, it's 2013 it came out, you should have played it by now, when Sarah gets shot and dies, and just that scene, like, just expertly acted, just like, it actually full on makes me cry, like, every time that I play that scene. And then it just cuts to the title screen, and then the news report goes, and you're just sat like, these are the Uncharted guys? Like, what? These are the Crash Bandicoot boys? My Bandicoot boys, like, making this incredible thing. And, obviously, as The Last of Us goes, there's so many sort of standout moments, but that is the ending's obviously incredible, that makes you put down your controller and go, wow, just, the giraffes, there's so many individual moments that stand out, but if I had to sum up, like, one thing, and it's also the most accessible part to show someone. It's the first 10 minutes of the game. There's no combat, there's just movement. Do you know what I mean?
So hard hitting.
It's so hard hitting. That would be, if that was a 10-minute short film, it'd be an amazing 10-minute short film. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't even need the rest of the game. I mean, it does to us because we want to play the rest of the game, but it doesn't need the rest of the game for that to be as hard hitting, because it's not. I'd say it's as hard hitting the second time as the first. It's not that it's like, oh, that hits harder because I know Joel on my second replay of the game. It is like straight away. First time, that's it. You're feeling it. So, and then,
as you say, throughout 1 and 2, just the sort of cinematic excellence just is throughout.
There's so many just moments where you do just go, wow.
yeah, which is why they're unrivaled. Yep. I would quite like to nicely seg on to another one, which is, and obviously this doesn't quite compare in terms of cinematic excellence to what we've just said, but in a similar vein, just in terms of that kind of wow, oh, this is something new, something bold and really well made, which is the Uncharted 2 intro I'm going to go for.
I've got that one,
Now, obviously you could say that 3 and 4 ramped up the production value, but I think at the time when you play 2 before those games and you kind of see what you're going to be getting into, it's like, here we go.
There's absolutely, you could argue in 3 and 4 there's more like edge of your seat action, like set pieces that are like,
they are more refined,
are more refined. But no, the train sequence at the beginning, climbing up the train. I mean, just what a cold open to a game. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sets you up so well.
Just straight away. And there's that moment where it pans out. He's sitting there, and then the kind of camera pans out, and you see that the train is overhanging. And my story with Uncharted, I don't know if I have said it on the podcast before, but it is that I struggled with Uncharted 1.
Yeah.
I just didn't really enjoy it that much.
Well, it was already at least 8 years.
Oh, it was a while. It was definitely a while after. Whenever the Nathan Drake collection came out, that was when I played them for the first time. And the first one, I felt that was just, my main gripe with it was that I was just in a jungle, like, for the whole game. I felt there was no real, like, environmental sort of variety throughout.
Very green.
Very green and sort of repeating textures and stuff. I almost felt like I'd seen it all, even though I hadn't experienced the whole story. I've since gone back and finished it. I have done, but
it was great for 2007,
of course, and I do appreciate it for that. But 2 was the one that from that moment I could tell straight away, and obviously then flashing back and forth to Chloe and the generic British villain man. Which is funny, like, as much as there are, like...
Still a well-acted generic British villain, though.
Of course, very charismatic and instantly likeable /
I mean, that was the difference even then.
Of course.
With Naughty Dog, it was like, okay, well, there's no groundbreaking sort of archetypes or whatever here, but it's just really well done.
Yeah, it's just well done. But that whole sequence, and then obviously, you come back to that sequence mid-game, that results in the way that it opens up. So it kind of works its way back to that same bit. But there's certain moments in Uncharted games. Let's say 2 and 3. I think they're the easiest that back this point up, where you almost kind of forget which one is which. Mm-hmm. You remember the plane scene over the desert in Uncharted 3 and the train scene in Uncharted 2, and I mean this, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like the quality is so matched between the two, but it takes those standout moments to, that's definitely number 2. That, number 4 is a bit different because it is,
established.
It's established, and it's
you're expecting
and it's,
yeah,
and it's pirate themed, and the brother's there. So if you remember that Troy Baker's kicking about, then it's Uncharted 4. But there's slightly more context to what game 4 is based on its age,
totally.
Which is good. But the train sequence that was on. I can tick that off the list myself, which is great.
Well, there's going to be quite a theme of the fact that it's like the openings of games here. I've got quite a lot of those.
To be honest, I've got. Have I got? I do have some openings, but I also have another couple of bits and pieces that were.
Yeah, well, I've got 1 or 2 endings, a lot of openings. Some bits.
Openings are good though, because it means that we're not spoiling too much for anyone that's not.
Well, the way I see it is these are the moments that really shaped our vision and taste as gamers, and a lot of these for me are. Some of them are extremely early to the point where they're just actually really quite vague recollections of being a child. That I remember those being the games that made me think, oh, I want to get into games.
Yep.
So we'll get to that.
Nice one.
I mean, do you want to do one, or how do you want to do this?
I'll do one. Now, of course, most people would go like Bioshock 1 when talking about the Bioshock games.
Well, in terms of intros again.
Intro again, of course. Twist.
That wasn't even the one oh, come on.
Right, okay.
So many.
Of course.
But yes.
Now, of Bioshock, my main problem with my Bioshock story, I love Bioshock 1.
Final boss.
Sorry?
Final boss.
Final boss is questionable, but no. What I mean, my story with Bioshock is, first of all, I was too scared to play it because I was a little one. I have played it and I love it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I psyched myself out of it. Before I even got into games properly, Kerry spoiled the twist in it for me.
Great.
Which is fine. Like, I didn't know any better at the time. That's all right. I don't blame her for it. Like, I'm not like, you spoiled it for me. Like, I still love it. I still put that game. I can't remember where exactly. I think I put it in my top 10 or at least at number 11. I can't remember.
In my top 10, I think.
I think it is in my top 10. I think it was. Anyway, definitely one of the two. Infinite. So anyway, I love the sort of intro for Bioshock 1, but really what I wanted was the slightly more, as you were saying, what it kind of shaped your vision, your passions for the games that you pick, and it would be Infinite, because I did technically play that first. After because you can play Infinite standalone, you can and still.
Well, another one for me is Infinite's ending.
Well, I'll come to Infinite's ending because I do have that on there, but because that was definitely one. But the intro with the the ascension, and then like going through the pools and the fountains and the statues and the candles all over with the stained glass and the sort of the sort of angelic choir, and
almost as good as Bioshock 1's intro sequence.
They were able to take something that wasn't, I mean, like, it's a sort of theme for the whole game that isn't overtly horror, and just give it like a real creepy undertone.
Yeah, but I think it was great how they deliberately contrasted them as well.
Yeah, I mean I think if they just went for another horror setting, that it would not have worked. Yeah. It just wouldn't have worked at all.
Because that specifically in the first one, that bit where the splicer is like hacking your that was absolutely horrific.
Oh, absolutely!
And then like so terrifying.
And then coming up on the woman crying over the pram and stuff. Like these are just iconic moments.
Yeah.
But then, like to show the quality of both intros, the splicer, is it someone new? And then when you go down to get baptized by the blind, like, priest in Colombia when you first arrive, he says, is it someone new as well to you as you're walking in? So there's so many like bits and pieces, and the Latesse twins are creepy and you don't know what's going on with them, and so that was one. And there's one moment in particular, two moments in the intro when you've arrived in Colombia, when you're walking through and everything's all hunky-dory, everything's happy, and all that, and then you come across a poster that says the shepherd is the wolf has come to lead the lamb astray, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of demonic hand with AD on the back of it. And then you look down at your hand and you've got AD on the back. And then so that was a moment where I just went, uh-oh, what's going on here, kind of thing. And then you get to choose the baseball for the interracial couple that are like about to get like blasted with baseballs, like this, like effectively this like mass stoning, whatever, and it's super ominous. And then you just sort of throw the ball up in the air, and I think you can choose, and you get a slightly different thing. I can't remember. I've only ever chosen the one thing, so I love to see it every time. And you've got the sky hook, and you just like put the guy's face into it, and then from that moment on, it's just like guns blazing. Like it's just this like an immediate turning point, and off to the races with it. And I know that's a problem for some people with Infinite, was that it's definitely more of an action game. But to me, in my sensibilities at the time, it was the perfect tone to get me into that world.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know if I necessarily would have if it wasn't that way. So I commend it for it. The ending, however, we can talk about that. So spoilers for Bioshock Infinite's ending. Mainly just the final sequence. I mean, that whole final sequence of going through different lighthouses and coming across Rapture. And to me, who hadn't played one, I still got a lot of appreciation because I knew that's what one was. So I wasn't going in 100% blind. I knew that was the setting of the first game. So yes, I didn't get the full appreciation that I know that many fans did, but I still got like this is cool. Like I understood why you were there and things like that. But the ending was definitely better than one's, in my opinion, purely because the twist in one came like 2/3 through the game. You had a good chunk after that, whereas really the twist came at the end, like literally at the just 5 seconds before the credits rolled.
That's right.
And then the credits rolled, and that was it. I'm gonna find. I might even put it on as like the social media picture, because I think I took a pic. Like I genuinely, like my face was like locked in position when I finished that game, and then I took a picture and sent it to Kerry because I think she had she played it. I can't remember, but I was like my face when I finished Bioshock Infinite, and it was literally just like mouth aghast, and I genuinely, I even consciously remember like, don't change your face because this is quite funny. And I took a picture of my face, and I don't know if I'll have it, but anyway, I'll find it. Maybe put it up as the socials, because that's the face I was thinking when this gaming wow moment's like,
totally.
And then immediately went on. I did this with Portal 2 as well. Immediately went on to the Bioshock Infinite wiki and opened every tab that was there and read everything about the game like that I could, just to understand what was like exactly going on.
It was one of those. But there's
just like, You know, there's no real like set piece moments that I feel stand out too much, other than like intro and ending sequences of Infinite. There's obviously some creepy bits in that, like hospital with the sort of big cone head kind of creepy things. You know, that was unsettling, and
unsettling is definitely what Bioshock has done best.
Yes, and there's moments of
thing in 2 though.
No, well, there's been some cool moments in 2, like that. They were like obviously like I think quite ahead of their time. Like, you know, Deathloop's getting, you know, it's so cool because Juliana comes in at any point in time, you know, just throughout your run and kind of throws a spanner in the works. Big Sister, you know, that was that.
I've literally not played it since it came out, so we're talking 11 years.
I've only played it once, and it was when the collection came out. I'd played 3 and 1.
I seem to remember
before that, but
possibly being the best gameplay experience, actually, because I really liked the dual sort of things you could do with the Big Daddy and the powers at the time. But
it's still good.
Oh, absolutely!
It's still a good game.
Absolutely.
It's just not up to the same caliber. So I'm excited to see what Ken Levine does next.
Absolutely,
high hopes, and hopefully it's interesting. Also, there's some really cool, like the way that Infinite changed so much from its like first reveals. Like, have you watched that initial E3 trailer recently? It's like of a full gameplay sequence that just does not exist in the game, with like a horse and stuff that's sort of in and out of the realm, you know, the sort of tear or whatever they call it, and there's just some awesome bits. Yeah, I love Bioshock.
Yeah, hopefully that reappears in some. Well, I think there's big rumours of 4, but who knows?
I mean, I'm nervous about that purely because we just literally said it there. 2's good, but it's not Ken Levine like 1 and 3.
I almost feel like it should be left alone. It was almost like a perfect trilogy in some ways. It could just be left alone. Well, 2 was a great buffer.
It was.
Between 1 and 3.
Was. You know? And I played 1 when the collection came out. I played 1, 2, Minerva's Den, 3, and then Burial at Sea episode 1 and 2.
I always regretted not playing those.
Like one after each other.
Yeah.
And it was only really by the end of that second episode of the DLC that I was getting a bit Bioshock fatigue.
Yeah.
I was loving it the whole time. So it wasn't that playing them next to each other that middle one wasn't a chore. In fairness, it was the one I hadn't experienced yet, so it was new, but
I think they ought to just leave it be, and then when PlayStation 6 comes out, they can just remake them all.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, though.
No. But but it doesn't. I don't even think it needs to happen, because that Rapture looks so good still.
Yeah.
Especially on those PS4 versions, which I'm going to download later and maybe play the intro again, just to experience the intro again. Cause
I would like to replay them at some point. If not the full games, just some of it.
Just to get into the feel and the world of it again.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Been a while. It's been, I think, 2016, I think, for me, when the collection came out. So, yeah that's enough time. For me, That's enough time, I'd say.
Nice. Bioshock.
Love Bioshock. Any chance to talk about these games, I'll take,
Totally. I feel like I've actually got a few that I could probably, it's that sort of typical theme that we like to have sometimes with these, like quickfire rounds.
Quickfire rounds, yes. I've got a couple of quickfires.
Because, you could wax lyrical about all of these games.
Of course.
But I know we can't, so some of them have to be sacrificed, I suppose. So, do you have some that you think you could quickfire?
I can quickfire some, yeah.
Do you want to do quickfire rounds
in
the middle here?
Yep.
So, just because a lot of them are similar in terms of, it's the opening sequences.
Of course.
And I think a lot of listeners probably will have shared experience because these are iconic moments and what have you. So, San Andreas, when it opens up,
again.
Just that, its kind of intro sequence is pretty memorable, and that being just such a seminal moment for us kids that were too young to be playing it. And
I don't have that experience.
Getting on the bike.
I don't have that.
You have played it though,
I played it, absolutely, but all I played of San Andreas when I was a kid was an established game file,
right?
like with cheats and just sandbox. and I've only since played the story, and I couldn't obviously complete it because nigh on impossible with modern sensibilities. But except from maybe soon with Grand Theft Auto the trilogy. Was it Grand Theft Auto the trilogy, the definitive edition?
It's just it's too weird to me. Like PS5 remasters, but it's actually the engine's still going to be the same. So I'm like,
that. No, it's not.
What?
Apparently, it's running on Unreal Engine, not the Rage engine. I was reading about this morning. Huh. The Rage engine is like Rockstar's internal one, but apparently,
but they're surely still porting over the assets.
Assets are ported, but it'll have more modern sensibilities and modern control schemes.
Interesting.
And but with the look and feel of the original games intact is their tagline.
Don't think it's going to be enough for me to invest.
I'm going to see. There's a part of me that wants like. I'm going to see.
It'll be interesting to see how they run.
Definitely won't be a day one, but if there's cheat codes will be intact. They'll have to be.
It is maybe something just to have around forever as like a sort of...
Yeah, just in perpetuity now.
You know, if you have pals over that are like, oh, let's, for nostalgia, throw that on, but actually it's looks good.
And controls well.
Look, I don't know.
Let's see. So yeah, no, the fact that intro is so memed, you know, shows its iconography. It shows its iconic nature.
Yeah, I mean, it's so ubiquitous. I don't think we really need to say much more.
Yep.
Another one that you didn't quite experience at the time as well, the opening up into the open world in Fallout 3. That is definitely an iconic moment. Just white and then it all
fades in. Even I have played Fallout 3 years and years ago, before the PS4 as well, like when I had my PS3. Didn't get very far in it, but I do remember that still, even then, being a really, really cool moment.
Something about the sound design that goes along with it.
Sort of the big vault door kind of creaking open, and
very cool. And you're kind of like, right, where to?
Yeah.
so that was always a nice one. Obviously, it's cemented in time now. It's something that has been iterated on and.
Oh yeah.
So,
absolutely.
But for the time, it was something else. Other quick fires. I mean, these are kind of funny ones. So these are going back to me almost being like 2-3 years old.
Nice.
And between the ages of 2 and 5, I'm going to say, and actually just watching my brother play them. And these are the two off the top of my head that I can think of that just seeing games being played. It's probably what spurred me to want to obviously get involved.
Same with my brother as well.
My absolute earliest, therefore, is Sonic when we had a Sega Mega Drive.
Sega Mega Drive. Was it Sonic 1?
I can't remember.
Would have been a Sonic.
Just so vague and so early, Yeah, crazy. Just to think that was the first console that I sort of had, I guess, technically, but never really played much of.
That's the same with my N64 was my introduction with my brother, and it was Super Smash Bros. For me.
Well, I would say that I actually have going over to other people's houses and getting some N64 action is also kind of, it's more of a smorgasbord.
The nipple analog stick, yes.
Right, yeah. So I only have a kind of like scattered, it's like a collection of things. So Mario Kart.
Yep, of course. WWF No Mercy.
Well, okay, so one that I wrote down, No Mercy. I've never played it.
Okay, interesting.
For me, it was the sequel, WrestleMania 2000.
Okay, yeah. Well, both equally as iconic.
So the likes of, I think that was probably my introduction to wrestling games. I think.
Was it your introduction to wrestling?
See, now I'm thinking of it. No, I must have played SmackDown 1 like the year before on PS1.
Okay.
But it was part of, because seeing, different wrestling game on a different console that I don't have.
Of course.
It all looks so weird and different.
You've got no idea that that's actually like an older console or a less powerful console.
Yeah,
you've got no idea
concept of all this. So just all those kind of things of going over to pals' houses and getting in amongst different games and stuff like that. So that's kind of my ode to like Nintendo side of things there on this episode. You
only get one per episode.
Well,
if that.
Something like that. I'm trying to see if there's any other quickfire ones. I'm gonna this will be the last one that I'll lump in here. You can decide if you want to talk about this a bit more, but for me, in terms of skateboarding, I have to say that it's Foundry in Pro Skater 3. Like booting up Pro Skater 3 for the first time was my real kind of I'm really into skateboarding games.
Cool.
I think I had played 1 and 2 again over at the same person's house.
Yeah.
But didn't own them. 3 was my first proper one. So
2, I can kind of segue off that, I suppose, because I could say the same for 2 for myself with Hangar 2 and School 2. Well, no, Hangar is, sorry, it's the only Hangar. I'm thinking Warehouse. Hangar and School 2 kind of merged together for me. That moment where you can grind across the helicopter and it, reveals the secret room was mind blowing.
Mind blowing for children, certainly.
That to me is etched in my mind as like an early gaming memory that did make me super interested in it.
Yeah.
Then you could but to be honest, by the time I got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, which was my most played, I would still say that I would still look back on it. I knew it was the successor to the game I had played before. Like I was aware that it was the sequel. I know because it says the same thing. But do you know what I mean? Like you're still stupid kids,
Yeah.
You've got no concept of that kind of stuff. So so I would still say 2 because I didn't play 3. As again, we didn't have 3 at all. I skipped from 2 to 4.
Interesting.
Which is just kind of typical of like the games that you don't have in your collection because you just you didn't get everything, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely School 2 more so. The big drop in School 2, the draw distance was so bad that you couldn't see the bottom until you landed, kind of thing. And it just said big drop, over the flashing big drop logo, so you knew that's why you couldn't see the ground, but you were going to land, kind of thing, because they couldn't draw it in. So yeah, no, that's interesting. Quickfire for me, I've got a couple. This is a weird one because as I was thinking about it, of course there are things I can remember, but our playthrough of It Takes Two, we did. I'm only saying that purely because there was just individual moments where we just went, wow.
It was a perfect co-op game.
It was a perfect co-op game. So that's a quick fire one if you've not played It Takes Two.
Such a breath of fresh air last year.
It's great. So was it this year or was it last year?
It was last year, surely. Or was it this year? Early this year.
It was early this year.
God.
Because it is, yes, it's this year. Yep.
Time flies.
What else? The Uncharted train sequence. Talking about Last of Us Part 2, obviously there's like the story and there's like the ending and moments that made me cry and flashback scene, the museum scene and the space shuttle and stuff like that. All these are all the sort of standout moments.
Totally.
But a moment while I'm in the middle of playing that makes me go like, oh, like super excited was when you're on the cult's island as Abby and everything's just blowing up around you and you're escaping on the horse and it was just like
the whole building.
Oh my goodness, it's great. And then you get stuck and then you have to fight that big guy and you chop his like jaw off and stuff and you're like, oh my goodness, this is just unbelievable.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. So that was like finishing that sequence and breathing like that was one of them for sure. So that's a quick one aside. What else? Walking Dead season 1, kind of just like putting that down and going, I've never played a game like that. That was just wow.
Good storytelling in games.
Storytelling. Better storytelling in that than any season of the TV show.
Yeah.
Comics come close, I would say, for that as well. The comics were great.
Yeah.
Journey's ending. That like there's moments in Journey, obviously, like when you're sort of sliding down the sand and the camera pans and you see the cracks of the sun coming through. That's a moment where you visually look at the screen and just go, wow. But that
you could argue it's so short that it's almost just a one seamless moment as a whole.
Of wow, yeah, Journey.
Because I've got Journey written down
as a wow moment, but this was going to be quick fire for me, but that was my last quick fire. So we can talk about that just now in a bit more depth. For
me, it's quite an intro ending type deal as well.
Yeah, so. I think so. But when you go through the mountain and you're like sort of limping through, and then it just opens up, and your scarf is so long, and you can just float endlessly. And
absolutely,
it's one of those ones where there's a part of me that wishes that like you could just like skip to that section, but then the weight of it's like you need to play the whole thing to appreciate it.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
It's got to be taken as such.
I want to play it again, but I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? Like
I don't think they will, but I really wish that they would remaster it for PS5.
Yeah,
I definitely think it could benefit. I mean, if it's going to be just the most high. I mean, because there's not much to it really. No. So there's endless amounts of sort of remastering capability that you could do. Obviously, give it HDR. Think of the haptics, the sand.
Oh, tell me about it.
Journey PS5 would be sensational, and I really want them to do it, but I know they won't.
It's a shame. It's a shame they won't. But Journey is gorgeous. Love Journey. So yeah, that's probably the quick fire ones. We could put this one like finally getting Skate. We spoke about it, before playing the demo and thinking that it just controlled like Tony Hawk and stuff like that. So finally, like clicking and going like, this is really.
You're right. Actually, that definitely should be one for me. For me, it actually would be the demo.
Yeah, of course.
But I've told this story a few times. How it was way back in first getting Xbox Live, and not knowing if we were doing it right, and eventually the demo downloads, and then just. Oh wow, mind blowing! Mm-hmm. This is the skateboarding game that we've
been waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely. So 100%
shared experience with that for sure. Just 100%. In a slightly different way for both of us, but
yeah.
So that's another, I suppose, another one. Kind of segueing on from that, not skateboarding wise, but like clicking with a game was Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was interesting because I got my Switch in like October of that year that it came out. 2016 or whatever, 2017 maybe, and I got it. I didn't get it in March when it first came out. That's when Breath of the Wild came out, but I got it when Mario Odyssey came out because that was my most anticipated game, and got Breath of the Wild for Christmas that year actually because it was like what do you want for your Christmas? And I never have a game that I don't really already, that I've not already bought. We spoke about it last week. I like to get games on, close to launch and stuff. Anyway. Not these days. Back in the day, you would for when you didn't have the, the disposable income. But now, so I got Breath of the Wild and played the tutorial, and I was loving it. The tutorial sort of keeps you on this. It's called the Great Plateau, and it keeps you on this one area of the map, and you can't really get away from it. So you have to just do everything on that map. It does set you up for it, but at the end of the day, I've said it before. You finish the tutorial, and then it just says beat Ganon, and you're like,
"Oh, it's the final."
It's the final mission.
Ah,
you can finish this tutorial and then go and complete the game straight away. You're not set up to do it, but people have done it obviously because people are amazing at the game.
Yeah,
but it just says, just go fight the final boss because it's Hyrule Castle. It's the middle of everything, and you can see it from everywhere on the map, and it's ominous. And there's like this sort of wisping black cloud over it and all that. So you see clearly where you need to go, but you just can't get there. So you have to go and do shrines. Yeah, there are these like Assassin's Creed kind of watchtower things that sort of reveal bits of the map and all that. R.I.P. And there's you do the tower. So I remember sort of trying to tackle it almost like an Assassin's Creed game and doing the towers first. Let's reveal the map first of all. Let's do that. And that wasn't working for me. I'm like, what's not working? I'm dying so quick. I'm not getting good armor. I'm not getting good weapons. That whatever. And then I realized what you have to do is you get these binoculars and you go up to one of the top of the towers and you just have to look for the shrines, which are effectively either combat rooms or puzzle rooms, predominantly puzzle rooms with the sort of physics powers that you get in the game. And then I'm like, okay. And then once you complete 4 of those, you can get either an increase to your stamina or an increase to your health. So you need to do as many shrines and do that, and that's fine. Also, there are 4 divine beasts in the game that are like these big mechanical, and that kind of replaces the Zelda dungeons. Like they effectively act as a dungeon with a final boss battle, of which you then unlock like a power that you can use from the guardians of the divine beasts, and you can use one of their powers throughout the game. So that was, kind of once I got to that first moment where I actually came across the intro mission for one of the divine beasts, you come across a character, and then from there you can kind of play it in a slightly more linear sequence, even though it's still an open world. You can tackle it however you want. But once you kind of get to that, and there's waypoints on the map a little bit more, start to click, and then I was like, right, okay, this is great. And then I just couldn't put it down after that, and it was just a near perfect game. There's a couple of things that do annoy me about it, in terms of like weapon degradation, and that your weapons break. I kind of get why they did it, but I like I like having my weapons that I use in a game. So yeah, the Breath of the Wild clicking for me.
No, yeah. I guess I could. My analog for that is probably Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay, was that like a bit of a slog at the start for you, where you like
just not getting it? Okay. Just being like, what is going on?
I think that would Metal Gear Solid fans would say it's because you started at number 4, but that's
well, yes,
idiot
sort of I don't know, 14, 15. But
mid-pubescent.
I was proud of myself for actually allowing it to click, though.
Nice, no, it's perfect, of course.
But when you realise how ridiculous the storytelling is, and you're like, okay, I don't feel so bad about not playing the previous games, because this is clearly outrageously.
Well, I think Metal Gear Solid fans would also say that they didn't really know what was going on as well, so that's fair.
Nah, but you talking about that and also mentioning other games there is making me realise just how many we could talk. We've played so much, and there's so many varied, iconic.
I was being selective. Like, I went through my sort of like my profile on the PS5,
really
like games played. I was saying I could say something about that. I could say
you could just keep remembering things.
I'll cap it at this selection, because we're at an hour just now.
Okay,
which is good. We're making decent time here. But I've got a few more that I want to talk about. But,
same.
You can head away next. What would you like to talk about?
Playing Guitar Hero in high school.
Okay, yeah.
So my first exposure to it was, I can't remember if it was like one of those sort of strange, we're really close to going off for the Christmas holiday in first year, so it's just these kind of free-for-all game days or whatever. And they had games set up in a room. It's like, if you're like the nerdy little 12-year-olds, this is the room for you today, sort of thing. And Guitar Hero was set up. And just playing, it must have been Guitar Hero 2. So this must have been like towards the end of 2006, I guess. And playing Strutter on that. And then in that January 2007, going and getting the Kiss CD. So it was like this whole thing. And then obviously going and getting Guitar Hero for myself and just loving that for years and years. Drums and all. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely a severe catalytic moment for me, was playing it in high school.
My earliest Guitar Hero memory is not of actually playing it, upsettingly so. I was at my cousin's house in Aberdeen, and I remember it clear as day. They always had like the best games, and they had a GameCube, I had a GameCube, and I borrowed like Super Smash Bros. Melee from them like one trip, and then brought it back up the next trip, kind of these things. Yeah. And I always remember them having the best games, and thinking back on it, they really, whether it was coincidentally, had their finger on the pulse of games that just were to become iconic. Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, fairly more obvious with Mario, but like Majora's Mask as well. And, and they played and they loved these games. So
they must have had their finger on the pulse.
Like to know to play those games, even as a young teenager, is really interesting to me. I think they must have had like the magazines and stuff, to know that. Anyway, but Guitar Hero 2, I remember seeing the plastic guitar. My cousin was like, "Oh, I'll show you," and he booted up the game, and he plays and he shows me like he's playing it and he's showing me how it works, and then literally the song finishes. Sam, we're leaving, we need to go. And I was like, no, I want to play. You know, like it was heartbreaking because I remember thinking like, oh, I'm about to play Guitar Hero. This is so cool. I don't even know what this is. I've just been shown this thing, and
sometimes you have to be left wanting more. Though.
It was 100% left wanting more, and then after that, it was getting Ben, my brother got Guitar Hero for the PS3. And then I got it for the Wii, and it turns out that the Wii version was better because we could not calibrate it for his HD TV,
yes.
and my SCART was able to play it perfectly. So, because again, you know, we're stupid. We had no idea that that's what you had to do. Like the PS3 version just felt off to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it just felt off to me. So I'll play the Wii version. So I'd be getting my controller and I'd be opening up the back of the Wii Guitar Hero controller and clipping the Wii remote in, you know, just to the bit, and it works great. Like that's the thing. Like I loved the Wii version because it was the white Les Paul as well. It was cool. It was, it worked perfectly, and
it was one of those ones in the Wii where it could work.
Yeah, it was just great. So, that Guitar Hero is a total wow moment. Just finally kind of getting to play that. The first time you play a song on Expert on Guitar Hero and you actually get through it and you go, Or first time you're 100% maybe on hard or something, you know. I think the first one I ever 100% like didn't miss a note on was the metal on hard. not on extreme, but on hard.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those iconic ones that came out. Those early years of Guitar Hero, absolutely.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Guitar Hero is such a great one. And then we've spoken about this in the past as well. Did you know it was Neversoft? Like, did you know it was the Tony Hawk guys? Like at the time, I didn't.
That was only from 3, right? They didn't do 1 and 2.
They didn't do 1 and 2. So for me, I've only played 3 onwards. Really, I've not played 2.
I think they did 3.
Did you
through
have
6?
Did you have any real like? Because that's incredible. That like.
Well, no, but that's why they stopped Tony Hawk because he defected over to doing Guitar Hero 07.
So I had no real like. I didn't click until years later.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, Neversoft really like ruled my life from, you know.
I mean, you know, kinda. I mean, they didn't obviously. They just took what Harmonix made and just put it over there.
Oh, for sure. But you know.
But yeah,
it was still a Neversoft game at the end of the day.
They did make it a bit more Neversofty.
Yes.
In 3, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely had its grungy or you know sort of Neversoft look with it, which is good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish Guitar Hero Live was good. Do you know what I mean?
Oh god, that's right.
But like just like the current accessible one that you can have in perpetuity now. But
I almost feel like it got to a certain point where, as being a musician, I was just so over it.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't need this Rock Band 4 live.
Oh no, wait. I mean, I've never even touched Rock Band Live.
I just had to look there, see if my old Guitar Hero stuff was still up there because it was for a while.
It was for a while.
What happened to it?
It has to be back at your folks' house.
I can't remember at all.
No, it will be.
I have no idea where that is.
It will be.
Alright.
Because it definitely went away from here.
Fair enough.
Oh man! And do you remember like buying or maybe illegally downloading the like the songs from the Guitar Hero games?
Oh yeah.
But you'd end up like with just the one that you wanted. So I had like Priestess.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
Get gung 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 I bet you I've still got the high score for that on Extreme at M&D's.
Oh wow, M&D's.
You boy.
Thought about going there for an absolute laugh recently.
Okay.
Looked it up. It looks so bad that it's not even worth going for a laugh.
I've looked at it recently.
It's actually not worth
the
time.
It actually looks incredibly depressing.
Yeah.
So depressing.
See,
cred to cred though, you know what I mean?
Even if, I know how painful it was, but even if Tornado was still running, just for a laugh.
To go in.
Just to go and be like, right, this is what it is. But there's just nothing there.
And it's like overgrown and stuff. It's like, it looks like post-apocalyptic. It's
such a sad state of affairs that is our only option up here.
We'll just go back to Alton Towers soon. I want to go back. I want to get on those roller coasters.
Oh.
We'll go soon. We'll go. Let's see. What's next? I think I've got 2 more that are a bit more substantial.
You just made me think of others. Just such iconic. There must be moments for like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Sims and all that. But as long as we mention these, right?
We can have a part 2 if we ever need it. We can come back to it.
Yeah, maybe.
We can come back to this topic. I just started a new note. Let's go back. Okay, I've got 2 more that are like quite interesting.
Same.
Trying PSVR for the first time.
Oh yeah.
So I played PSVR. There was a pop-up event in Glasgow. I went myself.
Did you? I thought
Yes.
we all went. Oh, because you went before.
I went before, and then I
okay.
came back going like, everyone needs to do this,
That's right.
kind of thing, and got you along, got Kerry along, got my brother along as well, who got motion sick playing the car game, which is hilarious.
I did as well.
You played Resident Evil.
I hated it.
Hated it.
It's not the only enjoyable things I find are the ones made for me.
Of course, for sure, and that's kind of what sort of solidified it for me. But I think I played Riggs. No, Batman.
Batman was cool.
Batman Arkham VR. That was the first one I played. Then I did play Riggs after that. But Batman Arkham VR, because all that was in the demo that they had there was literally just you booting up the like suiting up. Sorry, is what I meant to say. Like in the cowl, and and you would grab the cowl and you got to put it on and stuff. With the PlayStation Move controllers.
Very cool.
And then like I just remember like you descend into the Batcave and I just like kept picking up batarangs from my belt and just like throwing them just like everywhere.
Yeah, I think everyone probably did that.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting Batman Arkham VR and like never played it. So,
you didn't even play it through?
No, I think I played the same intro sequence and, then started playing it and went, nah, I actually just preferred this like tech demo almost.
Beat Saber was
incredible. I love Beat Saber. Like that's an incredible game.
It's super hot as well.
Super hot is great. Astrobot Rescue Mission, incredible. Fruit Ninja VR.
Sure.
Good fun. Do you know what I mean? Like just good dumb fun.
Still rooting for the technology to.
Yes. Oh no, I'm going to watch PlayStation VR 2 with a watchful eye.
Yes.
I'm going to watch it with a watchful eye.
With a watchful PlayStation eye.
Toy. Yes.
That's what I meant.
Where I think someone's dinging. It may be me on a different device. Or is it you?
No, it was me there, certainly.
It sounded like an iPhone notification. That was interesting.
It does, doesn't it?
What was that a notification for? Don't tell me the notification, obviously.
Well, that's, I don't know, it's the Facebook noise for Google Pixel.
That might have just been the Facebook noise then.
Oh, I think it is then.
So then that's just the generic one that's all. Anyway, strange aside. Second last?
I'm going to say Gears of War 1, sort of various bits in terms of single player, second level for me, because that was kind of almost like my baptism of fire for mature games. Just horror and just brutality and dark, just, oh my goodness. I mean, in hindsight, it's not really that sort of dark
that doesn't matter.
now, but it did to a 12, 13-year-old.
That shouldn't have been playing the game.
Yeah, and that set me off on mature gaming.
Yes.
But then also, the first few games of multiplayer and that clicking and being like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Multiplayer gaming.
Yeah, like that was so.
And it was so simple but so effective at the time, and we had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just endless hours on Gears of War Online. That's kind of it, really.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Just such a shaping game for me that I had to mention it.
No, of course, and it makes sense. Like the kind of gets that Xbox Live multiplayer into there as well, because it wasn't Halo for you first, was it? It would have been Gears.
Yeah, no, Gears 1 was definitely the sort of breakthrough, and then Halo 3 came later.
Because of course it was Halo 3 you played, online.
I bet not as much as Gears 1.
No, of course, but like as was, because for many people Halo was the first online multiplayer they played. So console wise, no, that's interesting. That's good. My last one here is discovering the twists and turns in the depths of aperture science in Portal 2. With no real knowledge on Portal 1, and I wanted to put that in as like an extra side there. I hadn't played Portal 1, I just jumped straight to 2. But what I wanted to suggest was that actually, not knowing anything about Portal 1 actually kind of added to the mystery of Portal 2 a little bit to me.
I can see that, yeah.
To the point where, like, waking up and then just, like, getting woken up by, like, Wheatley, like, or by the creepy voice, and then, like, waking up and everything's, like, disintegrated, and you come across GLaDOS, and she, like, comes to life, and, you know, you find out that you killed her. There's almost, like if this character has amnesia, like I do as well, almost, like, it kind of, like, makes it quite mysterious with that there. So, I enjoyed that. But then, same with Bioshock Infinite, finishing that game and then going, I need to find every single thing out about this that I possibly can. Like, down to the things like your dad worked at Aperture Science, because there's the take your daughter to work day, and your name is, like, on one of the potatoes that, like,
cool.
grows, but it's the potato that's grown the most.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, takes over that full floor that's, like, all these vines everywhere. And if you zoom in on the corner, it says Shell, age 9.
Please remaster that one.
And
God damn.
And J.K. Simmons playing, you know, effectively
right.
Walt Disney, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and just that getting creepy and almost really, like, tense and sort of a lot of tension when he starts losing his mind, and then you find out GLaDOS was the assistant, and oh man. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, another honourable mention for me, I guess, is probably Portal 1, actually.
And that makes more sense as the wow moment, for sure, if you played that first.
Well, because, again, that was one of those ones where, again, story I've told before, they were giving it away free for Science Day on Steam, and I was running it on, like, lowest settings on my laptop just to get it to run, even Portal 1 at the time, and not... Just assuming that I wasn't going to get into it because I hadn't dabbled much in kind of, I guess you call it alternative type games, like ones that think outside the box, and thinking, wow, I'm not going to get into this, but really getting into it, playing on the laptop, like, oh wow, well, actually, it just goes to show you the power of what Portal is. It just grabs everyone.
Yep.
It's just so genius, and just the perfect 3D puzzle game.
I will always have the soft spot for Portal 2, especially because that's what got me back into games.
It was definitely a better game, yeah.
But that was the game that got me back into games, so I felt like that was a nice one to send off on. For me, it is my PSN namesake, Big Portal Boy over here.
Absolutely.
And it will remain. You know, they introduced, I mean, Portal Boy, like, I'm like 25 years old, that's the lamest name, and it's number 1 after it because Portal Boy was taken. Like, but they introduced name changes, I'm like, nah, not changing it.
No, you can't.
You can't. Like, to me, that's iconic to me now, because I was 16 years old, hadn't played video games in a long time. That was the game that got me back into it, and I will be forever grateful for it.
Yeah, perfect bow on this episode, I think.
Have you got any more?
I've got one more.
Go for it.
And in a similar fashion, I'm bringing it full circle.
Let's wrap it up in bows.
PES 4.
Perfect. Nice.
First few games, and then because PES 4 is really the first one that everyone agrees is the absolute just legendary 10 out of 10 perfect football game.
Had you played FIFA before that?
Yes.
Okay, so you went,
but only just.
Only just.
You know, the sort of year leading up to PES 4 coming out was when I just started to get into. So I'd played probably PES 3, maybe 2 and 1. I can't quite remember if I played them before. Definitely like FIFA, because my brother had FIFA and stuff, so 03, 04, 05. But yeah, PES 4 coming out and reading the reviews ahead of time, and because we never used to get the magazines and stuff, and then even like the official PlayStation magazine and stuff, they knew. Everybody knew at the time it was like 10 out of 10, PES 4. Wow. FIFA 05, 7, 8, something like that.
Wow.
And just being like, okay, well, this has got to be the one. Mm-hmm. And even then, I somehow knew that gameplay was king. I didn't care about but the edit mode added to the charm. The edit mode was just it's endless fun. Like now I'm going back to my roots here, but how close can you get the Rangers team to authenticity by just doing it yourself? That was part of the fun. But it just felt so good to play compared to FIFA, it wasn't even funny. And so those first few games,
it's so interesting that
set me off.
That you were so aware of that being special at the time, and I mean that because we say this all the time. We were dumb kids. How were you to know? Do you know what I mean? Like,
and I wasn't especially good at it.
No, but
I didn't know the breadth of controls that were available. But just that kind of core, the passing feel, you could tell it was just so responsive, so kind of. It's hard to explain. It's obviously like a non-football, but the kind of the pass and move, and the way that the AI move, it's just more realistic.
But it's one of those ones, like, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if your story was like, oh, I just thought that, like dumb kids, I just thought that was the football game, and then it ended up being the legendary one. Do you know what I mean? Like a silly story like that. No, you were aware, like,
because even then, that was
the lead up.
That was the narrative. It was like, well, FIFA's got all the real stuff, and that's why we like it.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I was the only one, even then, who was playing it.
And that has always been the case.
And forevermore.
Forevermore. Until just now.
And, they sort of refined it, and 6 was really just the ultimate PES game. PES 6 is like the 11 out of 10. And
PES 6 was year...
2006, I believe.
2006.
The last PS2 one.
Yeah.
They did release it on Xbox 360, and it was a weird thing that happened at the time. It happened with FIFA as well, but they had... I don't know if it was a new engine for PES, but they definitely, it was a bit like the American Wasteland situation.
Yeah.
But they stripped out features in order to...
Oh, you mean Project 8?
No, because American Wasteland was on 360,
so
but it was the same.
So it was.
It's the same engine, same thing.
Yeah.
But in order to, I guess, polish it to the way they wanted to on 360, they took out features. It was a weird one. But yes, no, PES 4 for me.
Nice.
Just such...
That's very full circle
for
the episode, because we started off talking trash about eFootball.
Indeed.
R.I.P. PES.
Unless they do a massive 180 and bring it back.
Well, what's good is they've not really changed the branding. Well, sorry. They've not branded... They have changed the branding, meaning they could go back and call something Pro Evolution Soccer, and then that would make... You would know... Right, they have taken that one.
There's theories.
Because if they called this one Pro Evolution Soccer, then
they could have just reverted back to the model and been like, "We're sorry, we're going to make it right."
Yeah,
which they might do.
They might do,
but they equally might not.
Money will talk, and unfortunately, damn you, Asian mobile microtransaction market. Yeah, actually, I wonder how this year's WWE 2K game will get on after the farce that they had. The debacle, yes. Of
course, there wasn't a 21. We just fully just skipped it.
No, but there was a WWE Battlegrounds, which I technically have as a free game.
It was trash.
I didn't even look at it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's me.
That was good.
Mic dropped.
Games are wow. We'll finish up there. Quick aside, have you watched Squid Game yet?
I've watched the first episode.
What did you think?
I really liked the first episode.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
We finished it. Kerry hated it. It was great.
When I finally get the sort of proper chance to unwind and sit down and get round to it, I will.
You will enjoy it. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
We will talk more about that when you have. So, but just
I mean, it has actually been annoying me recently that I'm starting to build up a bit of a backlog again with games because I'm just not getting round to them. Because obviously this has been such a busy time.
It's been so busy for me as well, like that. Because I think even the last episode was... Had I gone back to work? No, I hadn't gone back to work. I was in the last week of my recovery.
About to. Yeah.
I was just about to. So it's been super busy with me going back. We had an audit in work.
Got all of those audits.
Had to count everything. Just everything. It was great. And I played in Glasgow on Saturday at Hootenanny's.
Yeah.
Not realising that the Scotland game was on. And I arrived at 8 o'clock and it was shoulder to shoulder packed.
Yeah.
It was so busy.
Did you get like requests for Scotland songs or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. But the funniest part was that I'd finished playing a song. I was playing with a friend, so it wasn't just me. And I'd finish a song, and then they would just start singing another song in the interim, in between songs. They would just start chanting like, "Yes, sir, I can boogie."
This song, I can boogie.
Yeah. That's our door. That's the lovely Kerry coming back in from university.
Right,
so that's a good a time as any to end. So we'll finish up there just now. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Richard. Shout out Richard for the suggestion. This was a lovely conversation. I knew it would be because it's just like, hey, let's celebrate the fun stuff.
Absolutely.
So we will catch up gaming wise in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see each other before that though. But thanks for listening. Check us out on the socials and all that jazz. And we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.